Why do you think it's so hard? Because Sebastian and Axel are kind of from the same cloth. They're really good friends. Why is it that it's so hard to interview Axl Rose? And I'm not talking about just the Chinese democracy era. That could be another whole conversation. But today, when he's out and about, they're constantly touring. It's the never-ending tour. It's not. It's more than not in his lifetime. It's forever in a lifetime. What is there something that I know you don't know maybe personally? You're not as friendly with Axl as you are with Slash, but what is it about Axl Rose that makes him such a hard person to track down and just speak and just have, just promote an album? Why is it so difficult?
Well, you're right. I certainly don't know him anywhere close to what I know Slash or Duff or those guys at all, not even close. But, I mean, Slash and Duff are friends, and I text them and we're in touch. And, I mean, I'll never forget, when those guys, and they don't ever change. And, I definitely feel like we're friendly beyond just being in the business. I mean, Duff reached out to me when they played in LA, and he's like, "Hey, are you set? Are you coming? Do you need anything?" I mean, that stuff means a lot to me. So, but Axl, it's just been really some interesting experiences with he and I over the years. But no, I certainly would never say I know him very well. But I don't know. To answer your question, my only assumption is that there's a lot of walls around him. I think that he has a very close-knit camp around him, and that's probably good. I mean, look, what's happening in the last few years for them has been great, going on time and productive, and as far as playing shows, so that's all great. But I think guys sometimes get really, really insulated, and the people that are around guys like that are super protective. And I think that, there's a real sensitivity about subject matter and what may or may not be asked and what they do or don't want to talk about. And as a result, it's kind of like, these walls go up and it's very hard to penetrate the walls. And I think some people are just at a point where it's like, well, you know what? I mean, I don't have anything to sell. The tickets are all selling for the shows. I don't need to talk. I mean, there is a certain level of mystique, that you want to keep going too. I mean, I think that we're in a world where sometimes people go overboard with way too many, saying way too much about themselves, or on social media every 10 minutes. Here's what I ate. Here's what I went to the post office. I went here. And so there's a balance, I think. So he's obviously, and his camp are the complete other extreme of that balance. I think there's a real concern of trust. I think they have a real concern about trust and it getting maybe too tabloidish or going in areas they don't want to go. And instead of trying to control it, I think the decision is just basically like, we just don't do anything for the most part. And it's unfortunate, but again, you can do that when you don't have anything to sell. And the Guns N' Roses tour initially, those first 2-3 years, they didn't need, they had no problem selling tickets. So it was blanket, no media. Going forward now, I think is a really interesting time because what I call the holy shit factor of them being reunited is now gone. Everybody knows this is the band. Everybody knows these guys are back together. Most people have seen the show or had the opportunity to 2, 3, 4 times. There still is no new music of any kind. So it's reaching a point, I think, where they'll always do business. And they'll always be a festival headliner and they'll always draw some people and do well. But if they want to, give it a kick, then he's going to have to start getting out there and working it a little bit, maybe on the media end, and of course potentially put out at least a new song, which I'm not convinced is going to happen. So I don't know. I can only say that I've never had anything but positive experiences with him. The 2 interviews that I did, both were real positive. After the radio one, we went out in the city for a couple hours. We were out till all hours hanging out. And it was great. I've had nothing but positives with him. And I'll tell you one other thing, too, that he technically owes me an interview.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that very first show, that he did in Vegas when this all started that I was out. I was leaving the venue because, again, even that now they've gone on reasonable times the whole time, but those first two shows back in Vegas at T-Mobile, maybe because it was Vegas or whatever, they went on late. They went on like 11:30 and didn't finish till like 3 in the morning, 2:33 in the morning, those initial shows. And I remember I was walking out of the building at 3 o'clock in the morning, which being an East Coast guy, it was 6 o'clock on my clock. And my phone rang, and it was Axl's management. And they said, "Hey, we heard you're here. Why don't you come back and say hi?" So I pulled a U-turn in the lobby, and Del came out and got me, and I went back in the hall. I saw Slash briefly, and there's Axl sitting in the chair, the wheelchair, because that's when he had broken his leg.
Right.
And the rumor at that time, Brandon, was all about him doing AC/DC. I mean, if you think about it, how crazy it is all the hype and excitement that Guns N' Roses is back like this. But then all anyone was talking about is the AC/DC rumor true.
Right.
And I didn't believe the AC/DC rumor was true for a minute.
Wow.
Because I was just like, there's no way relaunching this thing, as huge as it is, that he's going to then go take on a gig with AC/DC. So I didn't believe it for a minute.
Wow.
And I will never forget this. He motions for me to come over to him. There's photos of me talking to him. He's in the wheelchair. He motions for me to lean down because he wants to tell me something in my ear. And he said, he leans into my ear and he goes, "All the AC/DC stuff that you're hearing?" I said, "Yeah." And I was totally prepared for him to say, "It's all bullshit." And he goes, "It's all true."
Nice.
And I don't know who was in the hall taking photos, but it's like it's almost like cartoon frames because you could see my face being like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's all true." He said, "I rehearsed with them." He goes, "Man, singing," I think he said, "Shoot to Thrill is a bitch" or something. He started, but he was like a kid in a candy store lit up about having done it and that he was going to do it. And he had to tell me. And I said, "Man, I thought for sure that was all nonsense." He goes, "No." He goes, "I'm doing it." And he goes, "Listen, I'm trusting you." He goes, "I'm telling you." He said, "Keep it under your hat. It's going to be announced in a few days. And then after it goes properly announced," he said, and goes, gets out there officially, he said, "I'll give you the one interview I'll do about it."
Okay.
I said, "You got a deal." So I never said a word. Sure enough, 2-3 days later, got announced. I'm still waiting on the interview.
I hope you get it because I want to know more about what fans coined Axl DC. And I guess I'll end. It's like a kind of a coupled question because I know you're still busy, even though you're
cool.
So both with Axl DC, because were you at the Madison Square Garden show?
No, I did not see Axl sing with Guns. With AC/DC.
It was honestly like, if not the best show I've ever seen. It was one of the best. I was blown away. Like his voice when I've seen Guns N' Roses in both the Buckethead version and the reunion, like Axl's voice was the best with Angus Young. It was really something to see. So with seeing that, obviously I want Brian, to be healthy and he is AC/DC, but I would love a new AC/DC record to hopefully maybe include some Axl DC, whether it's one track with just Axl singing or it's a duet with Brian and Axl. Do you have any, I guess, like guesses or, do you want the same thing? Do you want Brian back and just AC/DC continue as they were before Axl, or were you convinced that, Axl and Angus have something there and that shouldn't be the end of it?
The rumor is this record that they made is a tribute to Malcolm, and that it's with the classic Back in Black lineup, with Malcolm still on it from stuff he had recorded or written. So I don't think any potential future AC/DC stuff is with Axl involved.
Okay.
But that's just me speaking from how I feel about it and what I would assume. I honestly don't know definitively at all, but I think that going forward for AC/DC, if there is a future, I think it's that. I think it's this record they apparently made with the original or the classic lineup as a tribute to Malcolm. And look, I know for a fact they were soliciting for advertising for some product about 6 weeks ago. And I have a feeling that AC/DC might be backburnered right now if they are in fact going to come back, because they are probably, dealing with the same thing, the fallout from the virus.